It's Erin Sharoni and Jeff Passan, not Passan, as we've established. um, Crazy game. We're going to keep this short and sweet, but I will let you kick it off, Jeff.
I mean, it's like this thing can't be short and can't be sweet. It was just the oddest. Looked like it was going to be a blowout. Then some intern from the 49ers cut the lights, and then there was a crazy comeback. And in the end, the Ravens end up winning one of those. I don't want to call it an all-time classic game, but I will never, ever, ever forget this Super Bowl. And sometimes there are events, whether it's the helmet catch, whether it's a guy getting knocked down at the 1 yard line on the last play of the game. This game will be remembered for the power outage and the comeback that almost was.
Yeah, and let's talk about those two things because they're quite interesting. And as someone who was pulling for the Niners to win, I imagine the population of San Francisco are not very happy right now. Although they were probably more invested emotionally in the game than I was. I just set my sights on not liking the Ravens and shooting the 49ers for personal reasons. But anyway, so, the turning point obviously was this power outage. Now, of course, in the party that I was watching at, there was lots of chatter of conspiracy and, did somebody do this on purpose? And it's great for advertisers and it's better for the NFL to have a game that's close rather than a blowout. I mean, I'm just repeating the speculation. So what do you think about that?
I think it was probably one of those things where you've got an old stadium and something blew up and there was no conspiracy to it. But you know what? It's fun to think about what the possible conspiracies could have been. Was it Alex Smith cutting the power because Colin Kaepernick was so bad that he thought he was playing time? Was it Jim Harbaugh personally going back there to try and get back at his brother, like an old trick that he might have pulled, back when they were in like 5th grade? And there's always, it's kind of funny, there's always this old rumor in baseball that the lights went out one night at an Orioles game because Cal Ripken had found Kevin Costner with his wife and was going to miss the game and break the streak. That's honest to God, that's like an old rumor in baseball that gets circulated around all the time. And so I actually think Cal Ripken did it. That's who I think the culprit was.
Well, that aside, obviously I don't really think there was a conspiracy, although, like you said, it's fun to speculate. When it happened, me and someone else turned to each other and were like, well, that's New Orleans for you, or that's what happens when you have a stadium funded by public money that's not run by public resources. But anyway, so that was interesting.
Your mayor and everybody who runs the entire state go to prison for corruption. You have public facilities that may not get the need that they necessarily should. And it was very interesting on SnapCall Sports when this happened. Immediately, we threw something up there, a poll question, and it said, "Can the 49ers still come back?" And it's amazing. It was 28-6, 28-6, and still, people thought that they could come back. The majority. I was shocked. I definitely had the no there because I thought once Jacoby Jones ran that kickback, I thought there was no chance that the Niners were coming back. That to me was a death blow right there.
But they've come back from worse than that before, and recently. So it's conceivable. And when you have something like the Super Bowl championship on the line, I guess you just dig deep to. Anything can really happen, right? Like that's the time it's like right for a crazy comeback or a Hail Mary. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen when you really have your whole heart in it. So I would have said yes. I didn't respond to that, but I would have said yeah that they could come back, and they almost did. Were it not, as Big Whisker points out, the total shaft on that 4th down call, pass interference. There was some holding there. I mean, look, there was bad calls all on both sides the whole way through. So I guess you could argue that was fair.
The referees are going to screw up. I mean, that's the way that the NFL works. It's the way that baseball works.
That was blatant, though.
It wasn't a good call necessarily, but it's late in the game. I mean, it's really late in the game. Do you want a Miami-Ohio State situation, which they still talk about years later, about a pass interference that might not have been You want to have the game decided by that? Or was it decided more because the Ravens just all-out blitzed on Colin Kaepernick and he had to get rid of the ball quickly?
I mean, it was a sloppy pass, and some people were saying, well, it was uncatchable anyway. But on the replay, I didn't think it was uncatchable if, there had been holding, like blatant holding on him. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not a 49ers fan. I wasn't that invested either way. But if I was, I would be crying bloody hell right now. So I can only imagine what's going down in San Francisco. I mean, I guess no matter what, if you're the loser, you're never going to be happy. So.
No. And they're going to come up with excuses. Look, you know what you should blame? The fact that you went down 28-6, not the referee. I understand why you're mad at that. I get that. But, if you're not in a 22-point hole at the beginning of the second half, then all of this is moot.
Yeah. See, I'm looking over at the chat stream here, and it seems that people, look, Joseph agrees with me. But, yeah, you're right. I mean, they were in a hole, and if it wasn't for that ridiculous 40-minute blackout or however it was, I don't know if the 49ers would have been able to collect themselves and stop the Ravens' momentum. That was pretty big. So there was that, too. But, I mean...
I threw this up there, too. Oh, wait, wrong one. Oh, no. What am I doing already?
Calvin Klein, wrong target audience.
I was trying to get there. I'll add this one. We'll get back to the Calvin Klein thing later. The wardrobe malfunction was better than the entire stadium malfunction. There's no question about that. Just thinking about this, a Super Bowl was delayed for 34 minutes because the stadium went dead. Think about that. The biggest sporting event every year in the world stopped for 34 minutes because some lights went out. That's still inconceivable to me.
It's not inconceivable considering what you just pointed out about the way that the city of New Orleans is run. I mean, there's a lot of corruption there, so I'm not particularly surprised. It's unfortunate, but if it's going to happen anywhere, I mean...
You know what I'm really looking forward to? I'm looking forward, one, to finding out who's in charge of this and seeing exactly what happened, and two, the number of conspiracy theories that are actually going to grow once people have time to think about them and once people start piecing things together. You're going to find out that there was like an assistant power guy who was a huge Niners fan, or that there was that Harbaugh snuck an intern through the corridor to go cut the main wire.
Or some bookie somewhere wanted something to happen and hired there's a hired gun. Or I, however, like your theory the best about Alex Smith. That's just funny. I mean, obviously it's not true, but I didn't even think of that. So I give you credit for that one,
buddy. You never know. I mean, we don't know about these things. In New Orleans, anything can happen. I had my bachelor party in New Orleans, so I can tell you, crazy stuff happens in New Orleans.
Yes, it does. Speaking of crazy stuff, what else did you like, and what other like big turning points were there? Big calls that you guys were talking about on SnapCall.
Just the comeback that Colin Kaepernick was leading, and I think that there was a point at which the Niners actually were outgaining the Ravens in total yardage, and were still down 22 points, and that just goes to show you how big turnovers are and how big special teams are. And coming into the game, we figured because of Jacoby Jones and because of Justin Tucker that the Ravens did have the advantage. And I think that absolutely came into play. You just saw the way when the Ravens tackle, they do it with a different sort of purpose. I mean, they hold you and then they go for the ball. And no team out there does that better than them. They're dirty, dirty, dirty tacklers. And I say that in the most complimentary way possible because they don't care. They will concuss you. They will break your arm. They will tear a ligament. They will do whatever they can to get the damn ball. And that comes straight from Ray Lewis and Terrell Suggs. They play to the heart of the defense, and they don't care about your personal welfare, health, or safety.
Jeff, I'm going to quote all of that. That is so amazing. Can you write that tomorrow morning, please? That was great and pretty spot on, I would say. And I'll withhold since this is a public forum, I'll withhold my personal opinion on Ray Lewis. We'll just leave it at that. But unfortunately, I think we're going to see him all over the place for God knows how long.
Okay, apparently God does know how long if you listen to Ray.
I mean,
when I said thank God at the end, he just left out the word deer antlers.
I couldn't believe the pregame interview where they asked about that murder and he said God doesn't make mistakes. Like, what does it mean? Like, in context of it, like yes, maybe that's true, and I can see that from a religious standpoint. But like, how is that relevant to you being present allegedly at a double homicide? Anyway, he's an interesting character. I would like to.
I'm glad he didn't win MVP. I'm glad that Joe Flacco rightfully got it, because Joe Flacco was awesome.
Yeah,
and Joe Flacco has been awesome throughout the playoffs, throughout his whole career in the playoffs, and he was just on point tonight. Look, there were a couple drives, especially when the momentum went towards San Francisco, that Flacco looked a little shell-shocked in the face that he had when Kaepernick led that drive to get it as close as it was. He was just sullen on the sidelines. But you know what? He came right back, and he hit Bolden on that third down pass down the right sideline. Wasn't the best pass in the world. Bolden did a brilliant job of getting his hands on it, with the defender's hand in there too, though. And you know what? He let him right back down and got him another score.
Yeah, I thought Bolden might have gotten MVP. Bolden was really good. And by the way, I was like, Bolden, why didn't you show up when I had you on my fantasy team 2 years ago, huh? And you were like the biggest bust. Where were you then, buddy? Anyway.
Fantasy during the Super Bowl, Aaron? That's a little misguided, isn't it?
What?
Your fantasy anger during the Super Bowl? You really still harbor grudges 2 years later on fantasy?
I do harbor resentment from 2 years ago. Because I almost... What did I say? I almost took... What?
Speaking of resentment, there's gonna be resentment from you. Hold on a second. Okay. So I sent this out on SnapCall during the game. Dear Calvin Klein, wrong target audience. Now, there are a lot of women watching the Super Bowl. I understand that. You probably enjoyed that ad, right?
What ad? I don't know what you're talking about.
There was a guy who had like a 12-pack and was just standing in underwear and was greased up, and he was just there to make the rest of us feel bad about ourselves. And you just go look up the commercial. But
wait, so
I was with you on the farmer ad.
Wait, so Jeff, so now you know how women feel all the time, all day when we watch television, right? There's just these ridiculous looking ladies there to make us feel bad about ourselves. You see how it feels? I don't think it's any different than having, like girls in bikinis running around during Super Bowl ads, which I have no problem with, but I don't think it's any different.
It's absolutely not, but getting a dude's junk shoved in your face at the Super Bowl was not what I was expecting. Then again, now I was not expecting that farmer commercial either. Did you like the farmer commercial?
I did. Actually, I tweeted about it, and it's funny because I guess all the people that I follow on my timeline, I don't know what their deal is, but they were just ripping this commercial. Look, I was in a room about 12 people at this party in an apartment. That was the only commercial where the whole room went silent, and people really looked up and were like, someone said, is that like Willie Nelson writing? So like, who was talking about these farmers? We had no idea who had written the words, but
it was Paul Harvey,
right.
And it was Paul Harvey at a Future Farmers of America conference, and it turns out, this is where the depressing part is, it turns out that ad was totally ripped off from something that was on YouTube like 2 years ago. The exact same thing with the exact same speech,
really?
And they just put different farmers in there. Yeah, you go check it out. It's I think it's up on Slate.com right now, and that just made me sad.
That makes it less good. But when I saw it, I really liked it, and I liked it because it was like different than the stupid slapstick garbage. Like the commercials have been so uninspired. I'm like, do I really need to see someone giving like someone a wedgie? Really? Like, come on, that's not that interesting. It's not creative.
Over the head. I mean, that's like a really good wedgie right there.
But still, so I liked the commercial, and I tweeted that I was the only one who liked it, and I got a ton of replies, like immediately from people saying like, "Welcome to the South," or "In the Midwest, we love it." Like, "You city slickers, you just don't get it." I'm like, well, I guess I must be following too many cynical city slickers. But I liked the commercial.
I'm gonna say I'm in Kansas City, so maybe it just takes. Maybe you're not a New York girl after all. Maybe there's some Midwesterner at heart there.
My mom's from Seattle, so maybe that's it.
Seattle's the Midwest.
Well, listen, I know it's not the Midwest. Of course I know it's not the Midwest. What I'm saying is there's a lot more nature there. As a kid who was born and raised in New York City, where everything is concrete, when I used to go to Seattle in the summer, my parents said I would cry hysterically and say, "I want to live in the forest." I mean, I literally thought the city of Seattle was a forest. That's how deprived I was of greenery in my life. So.
Yeah, there weren't many parks when we were growing up in New York.
No.
Aside from that humongous one in the middle of the city.
Yeah, but that doesn't really count.
No, okay. Yeah, that wasn't safe back then, right?
No. I would like to point out though, Jeff, somebody in the chat stream over there a little while ago had said that you had some really great one-liners and that you ripped a couple people, including Sims and Beyonce. So I would like to hear a little bit about that.
Was I ripping Beyonce?
I don't know. That's what song. I'm trying to find the thing someone wrote there. Maybe I'm misquoting him. Somebody says.
God, I like this one better. God made Erin Sharoni and did a pretty damn good job. There you go. God's on your side, Erin.
Thanks, Big Whisker. Listen, I'll take it, man.
Nobody's saying that about me. I thought Beyonce was pretty awesome, actually. My 5-year-old who made the cameo earlier today, however, said, "Daddy, this doesn't look like football."
You're like, "Oh, son, wait 10 years and it'll look just like football to you."
I was like, "No, sir, it does not look like football." Beyonce was pretty great, I thought.
I'm not a Beyonce fan, so I'll withhold my opinion.
Beyonce fan to appreciate charisma and stage presence, and the fact that when like the other two girls from Destiny's Child came out, you could tell who the star was on that stage. Not just because she was standing in the middle; she was the star. She exudes star power.
Yeah, I have nothing nice to say about that whole situation, so I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut, Jeff.
Yeah. Beyonce and Ray Lewis like in the same boat here?
What?
Beyonce and Ray Lewis, same thing?
No, I wouldn't put Beyonce in the same boat as Ray Lewis. Let's not go that far.
You have nothing nice to say about her. I'm
just not a fan. What can I say? Look, she was better. I'll give her this. She was better than when the Who performed.
Okay, well that's a real compliment there. Nicely done.
That's as much as I'm giving on that one.
I went over my winners. I thought that Beyonce was a winner. I thought that John Harbaugh absolutely was a winner. I thought that Colin Kaepernick, frankly, was a winner, despite the fact that on that last drive, I don't know if he got sabotaged by Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh rather, but the play calling down there inside the 10 was just abysmal.
Yeah,
just abysmal. It looked like the 49ers were going to win that game, and frankly, they probably should have. With everything they had going for them, with the way the offense was clicking, they had everything on their side, and Baltimore Ravens, Super Bowl champions again.
I mean, there was a point during like third and fourth quarter where everyone at the party I was at was going, "Man, this is the biggest choke ever." Like the Ravens just were giving things up, like left and right, and you're going, "Oh my God, they're falling apart." And I, of course, was like, "Yes!" But didn't happen.
Well, I had a party with all the people there in SnapCall tonight, and for those who were there and continued on to this Spreecast, very much appreciated. SnapCallSports.com, get it at the iTunes store. We're going to be doing college basketball, baseball season. My specialty is going to be coming around soon. We're going to be doing that, March Madness. It's more and more people are using it now, and I think it was a great game tonight, and I'd like to think going forward we're going to have some pretty great ones too.
Absolutely, and I can't wait to try and use SnapCall for hockey since That's my personal obsession. Although I need to be a little bit more educated on baseball because it's really the one sport that of all the sports I don't follow as much, and I attribute that to having been forced to be a Mets fan because I was born in Queens, and you just might as well hate baseball if you're a Mets fan. And in fact, I'm switching my allegiance this year, so I might need to follow you a little bit, Jeff.
Are you going Yankees?
No, I'm going Toronto Blue Jays, man. They're stacked.
Wow, you're going across the border?
I'm just leaving the country.
Are you Canadian?
No. But listen, Ari Dickey went there, and I was so mad at the Mets organization. I don't know if it was out of spite. I like hockey, so I'm like, all right. They got it.
You are.
They got a few good guys.
You're gonna fake. You're faking the accent the whole way. You just try and stifle yourself from saying "hey" all the time. I can tell. Now I understand. It makes more sense.
No, I'm half joking, but I can't be a Mets fan anymore. It's just bad. So we'll see.
Well, hopefully we will get some snap calls on hockey as well. Going to be going to on the iPhone right now. Going to be going to Android mobile devices. You can do it on your iPad. You can do it everywhere. App is free to download, and I will be around plenty. So. Thank you again very much, and it's always a pleasure talking with you, Erin.
Pleasure talking with you, Jeff.
I hope you enjoyed the Super Bowl, aside from your boy Ray Lewis winning, and I'm sure we will be back here again for the next big event to chat about it.
We sure will be. When the Knicks win the championship.
All right, thank you everyone for coming on with Spreecast with us, and see you next time.
Thanks, guys. Go to bed.